and the response has been awesome. Probably a little overwhelming to say the least, but we just wanted to get on here and let everybody know, kind of answer some questions, let everybody know where we're at, and then kind of give you guys a path forward, and just say we're thankful for all the response. And here we go. So first question, a relatively easy one, is what is MetFix?
So I think there are two answers. One is it is going to be a methodology based on Greg's sort of legacy and body of work that's both the mechanics of movement as well as sort of the internal mechanisms of action that happen in the way that the body processes energy, using food to process as energy, which will allow people to then deliver that information and education to clients in a very impactful way, with the specific goal of really trying to help people prevent chronic disease and battle chronic disease. So, I mean, probably a lot of people know that when Greg launched CrossFit, the goal was really to professionalize the personal trainer. And I think we've gotten to a place where his methodology has become so widespread in so many different, areas of fitness. But the big piece is that the base of the pyramid is nutrition. And that wasn't sort of well delivered or explained in a technical sense back when he launched 20 years ago. And so we're addressing that really head on. I would say in sort of a brave way, by really getting into the science of nutrition. And that's not what RDs learn. It's very different. It's really the biology of the cell, so that by the time somebody has completed our course, they're able to realize that when you eat food, your body either stores it as fat or it utilizes it as energy. And it becomes really clear why a low carb diet is the preferred optimal diet for performance and for long-term health. So we will look at chronic diseases and we'll look at how they respond to glucose, as well as looking at, really fit, healthy people and how their body works as a well-oiled machine using the right fuels. I think that will allow people to go back and be coaches in a far more professional way, and really deliver some high level, health coaching, health care, as we say. We have, obviously our medical society, we have a lot of doctors who are going to advise on this and are using these protocols already in their practices. So we're kind of combining all of those things into the curriculum. And then obviously this affiliation is going to be people who have passed that course, who then go on and apply because they want their gyms, boxes, whatever they may be, to be known as a place where this work is done, and that there are experts who live there who can help guide you towards a better, healthier, fitter life. So what am I missing?
No, I mean, for me, so I'm a ongoing 14-year affiliate gym owner. Literally this morning, we were dealing with a leaking roof, and the shower drain was getting plugged up. So I'm not somebody who used to be one and trying to tell you what it was like during the glory days or some sort of guru, but I'm in the game now. To me, I look at this from in parallel. We're doing two things. We're returning to the original mission of we're finding those lifeboats on a tsunami of chronic disease. Great coaches, great affiliates are masters of movement. They're masters of coaching. That's not going anywhere. But we are layering on this health approach to have such a wider reaching, broad scope impact in our local communities and in the greater community in general. This isn't just about doing thrusters and burpees for the sake of doing thrusters and burpees. It's seeing what that tool of the methodology can build in terms of longevity, in terms of health. And for me, I've lost people because they didn't have access to that. And I don't want to go through that. And to me, that's kind of the driving force of how do we find the people in the community who are the best in the world, who are service-minded and want to make an impact. And that's what, to me, MetFix, becoming a MetFix affiliate is all about.
Very well said. Yeah. And I mean, I think we can't probably emphasize enough the importance for the affiliates to be helpers in their community, and how much that's going to play a role in who gets accepted and who doesn't. Like, this is really far more than just running a gym. It's about wanting to be a valued member of your community because you offer a high value service in your community.
Exactly. And we're also looking for people who aren't afraid to fight.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, this is not going to be a passive kind of thing. You will have an obligation. Obviously, you always have an obligation to your community. That's first and foremost. But you will have an obligation in service to the greater MetFix community as well. Everybody has kind of have a unique skill set out there. We want to find that. We want to promote that, and we want to share that. And so that network grows. This is a community-driven and led thing. This is not going to be some sort of top-down, wait on us to tell you what to do. We're finding people who are rebels and want to take it to the fight and fight chronic disease.
Yeah, and are brave enough to do that and stand up to the establishment in a lot of ways, because there are going to be a lot of fights that we already know that we're to pick, and that we want people who really get that this is about saving lives. And I think one of the things that I said in the talk on last week here at my house was that I really think we're on so many levels. People are talking about freedom and the notion that free speech has been challenged, freedom of assembly has been challenged, and I think at the base of that is health. If you don't have health, then it doesn't matter whether you have free speech. It doesn't matter whether you have freedom of assembly, freedom of expression. Like, you're in a hospital bed somewhere being pumped full of medicine on your deathbed. Like, none of that other stuff matters. And so many people are sick with chronic disease in this country that I think it really is the number one vulnerability that we face as a nation. And we have the solution to that problem. And we can teach people how to do it. And there's a handful of people, or more, thousands of people who already know a lot of this. But I think you need to be really well armed with the education piece. So when you're challenged by a client or somebody in your community who wants to shut you down, or who knows what's coming down the line in a year or two here in this country, that you're able to really express scientifically, like, tell me what's wrong with this.
Mm-hmm.
Cell biology that you can learn from any medical textbook, like probably any college biology textbook. Why is what I'm doing here any different than that? And how is that wrong? And we're going to make warriors out of everybody who takes this course, because you're going to be so well armed with that knowledge, which I think protects you in this fight situation, but it also really protects you in the sense of wanting to deliver results to your clients. So, I think a lot of people don't know that I had 3 gyms. I developed a whole women's health curriculum for them. And a large part of that I found really helpful because it forced the women to look at their long-term health and some of these issues of chronic disease. And so when they wanted to have a cheat meal or a cheat day, they were far less likely, because the consequences for doing that and the setback that it could potentially cause them was put within this realm of, not life or death, like, not to be too extreme, but really this isn't about, trying to look like super sexy, even if that's part of the goal. It's really about these much larger issues that your doctor isn't sitting down and talking through with you thoroughly enough, but we could. And I think that's going to be, obviously that's influenced a lot of what we're doing, but I think that's huge in getting people to really stick with a diet or try it and trust you. You have to be an authority on it. You have to really understand, why is this important and how does it work? And I've been to tons of CrossFit boxes, and even people who preach low carb, oftentimes don't understand that, you should be having a sugar drink or a protein Slurpee that has 30 grams of sugar in it after a workout. Why? Because they don't understand the mechanisms of action by how your body is processing that glucose at any time during the day, and what that does to you over time, and how metabolic damage is cumulative. And I think we can do a really good job of educating more people on that, because then once you understand, it's just so obvious and so clear. Whereas the world is so complex with all of the diet advice. And so there isn't a right or wrong, but when you understand how the body works, it becomes right and wrong really clearly. And I think that's part of the goal of what we're working on.
Yeah. And to kind of close up on that train of thought, is when I was in the Army, mentor said, hey, you can be really good at explaining what to do, and you can be really good at explaining how to do something, but you're always going to have to be there to do that. If you explain why, then that's when somebody will take it for their own and they'll do it on themselves. And to me, that's a big thing behind the course, is explaining the why for how to think, how to move, how to eat, all works together to fight chronic disease.
Yep.
All right, so we've got some affiliation questions coming through. And, I guess kind of the overarching theme is what are the benefits to becoming a MetFix affiliate?
He's saving lives.
Next question.
I don't know. Like that's the point. Like, please don't apply if that's not your goal. I think, really what we're offering is this education piece, community, and strong leadership. I mean, I think Greg has proven to be somebody who's willing to lead with a sort of a strong passion and a, brilliant mind and the ability to really drive people towards the mission. And that, I think the mission is everything with us. I think that's all we really care about. I mean, I think in some ways it sort of leads into the question we've gotten a lot about affiliation, which I think you want me to just tack that one now.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I think we're launching with this group of 100 affiliates. And, I thought we would have a few hundred people interested. We've had thousands of affiliates offer to pay us now. So I think what's interesting to me about that is it's really important for people to know this, we're not trying to do some sort of elitist whatever thing. What we're trying to do is find people who we already know get a lot of this stuff to be a sounding board for us. So they'll take the course, the seminar first, they'll give us feedback and we'll refine it. And so we're targeting that first 100 based on people that we know are already excellent at this, longtime affiliate owners who have, been asking us to do this, probably have known it's been in the works, as well as people who have been really interested in the broken science stuff, people who have shared our stuff, who regularly comment, who have come to events. Those people are on our radar. We know they're interested in learning more about critical thinking and about science and, how to sort of solve problems using good critical thinking. And so those are the people who are going to be in that first 100. And then from there, we're going to grow out as we get bigger. And again, just to point out, thousands of people want that, have already filled out the form, written unbelievable essays about why they're so excited and this is important. We could launch tomorrow with, 3,000 affiliates and make a lot of money. We are not doing that. That is not the point of any of this. We're going to go slowly and carefully because I believe that what we're building may be one of the most important things that anybody has ever worked on. And so I don't want to fuck it up before we even get to any kind of mass critical state. So the 100 is really, really important for me so that I feel like we're building the right community with the right people that are really dedicated to helping us build this in the right way. And then those 100 will each get their own invitations. So we'll grow out that way, as well as continuing for us to take these applications and offer more spots to people as we have the staffing and the systems and all the back end stuff that we really, are in the process of developing, but we don't have quite yet. And we're not ready to welcome 1,000, let alone, 3,000, 5,000 in the next month. We'll probably have over 5,000 people who've wanted to join, which is amazing. And it makes me feel really emotional that we are onto something and people really do want this. But I'm going to be super protective of it. I think part of the reason that Greg put me in this position is because he knows how protective I am. And he knows that I will steer the ship in the way that will most protect and allow this to grow and develop in the right way so that everybody involved benefits from it, and can spread the message to their communities and allow the communities to benefit.
Yeah. And to me, so as far as, benefits of affiliation, other than saving as many lives as possible is we report to no one and we're owned by no one. I mean, that's first and foremost. Secondly is the mission that we are fighting chronic disease and there is no misunderstanding of the spine of this organization, and it will be the affiliates. That is our first and foremost and really only care to ensure they have everything they need from within the community to be as successful as they can. I have a big heart for those men and women opening the garage doors 5 a.m. every day, in understanding what they go through. And we have an obligation to ensure we give them as much tools as necessary, primarily through education and through leadership, to be as successful as possible. And to me, that's the major benefits. There'll be all kinds of educational opportunities. And two is like the connection from within. Like you shouldn't feel that you're all alone. And that's very common. Like, you're the ones going through all this hardship because you're passionate, because you have a heart for it. We want to let you know there's other people in your boat that want to see you succeed. And they have a unique lessons learned and skill sets that they can pass on to you to watch you and ensure that you're successful. But like you said, there's no point in opening up to a couple thousand people right off the rip. We're not going to do anyone any justice or good by doing that. So we want to ensure that we take our time with the selection of the first 100, welcome them in, have conversations with them, see what they're doing well, and see how we can unfold that in a much, much bigger way, because this is a community-driven effort at its heart. All right. What do we got here?
Hi, Daz.
Oh, Daz had to wake up pretty early for this.
The night for this.
So let's talk. Will it be an affiliate model only, or could trainers outside of a group class be affiliated?
Yeah, so anybody can take the class. In fact, we have a lot of our medical society doctors wanting to take the class, or this I should call seminar. It's not just like one class. And I think, if you aren't working, again, you don't have to be an affiliate. The affiliate model is very similar to what Greg did before. And so that's really easy for us to replicate. But just likewise, anybody can take an L1, right? So anybody will be able to, participate in the seminar piece.
Yeah, and those will be rolling out more towards 2025. Like we said, that first 100 is going to be, they're going to have first rights to the first couple courses. To see if there's any way to improve it and offer their feedback. And then once that's kind of solidified, then the gates will be open more and we'll have more offerings throughout the rest of the year.
We're going to have a staff of trainers that need to be trained on all of this, right? And so all of that takes time. So, I definitely think it's important to emphasize, there's a lot of pieces to this that are in development now. And it's obviously really exciting, but in 2025 is going to be the year of MetFix, I think, with all of the rolling out.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
So one more time, let's just hash out really quickly the affiliation process.
Okay.
We talked the first 100, but then what are we looking at after we get the first 100 stood up?
So the first 100 will each get 2 invitations. They will then be able to invite 2 people. And part of this is that because this is a community that I expect to be around forever, I thought it would be really cool to have a family tree. So it's like a provenance of where people have come from. I also think this creates some quality control. So Dale invites 2 friends. They turn out to be dirtbags. We can get mad at Dale for having invited them into the system. But also over time, you get to see how did this grow? And from this one invitation, 50 people, 100 people ended up joining within a couple of years. So it'll grow exponentially as we grow exponentially is the plan. But it does keep some guardrails on who can be an affiliate. That's not for the coaching. So once we get the seminar out in the public, it'll be kind of first come, first serve to sign up. So the first 100 get to be affiliates before they've taken the class. But that won't be true for everybody else. For everybody else, you have to take and pass the seminar and then apply to be an affiliate. So very similar to the model that Greg had before. And I think, that we will also obviously go through these lists. So you can apply right now on brokenscience.org. And it's not a full application. It's I'm interested, although people are writing a lot of really amazing stuff and taking the time to do that, which means a lot to us. To just sort of be able to get to know you better. And I think that we will pull probably, another 100 from that in the next cohort. And so we will obviously, we're not ignoring people who don't get a personal invitation from the first 100. We'll have our own set of invitations that we can keep sending out to people who really, show an interest, show a passion, are already doing great work. So there's sort of 2 routes to being added to the pod.
Yeah. And those that we are going, I feel like I'm swimming in that spreadsheet currently. But there's some phenomenal responses in there. And the ones that will be invited to apply, it's not just, hey, write a sentence or 2. It's a pretty in-depth process to where we will require an essay and a video. explaining who you are, what unique impact you've had on chronic disease within your own community, how you're serving your community through your gym, and what value can you bring to MetFix. So we're really, like I said, we're really looking for those people who are hard charging and making an impact in their community. So, and it's just, we just ask patience. It's going to take a while, especially on this first group, even after the first 100. To get those responses out there, to ask people to apply, and then to start reviewing those applications. So just please be patient with us. So along with that is, what is the timeline for international?
So, I mean, I think we got to get the system squared away in the US first. Obviously, it's where we are, so it makes sense for us to really dial that in. And then the plan right now is to look at the applications, or this interest application that we have online now, and see where there are pockets of people. So if you're in France and you really want us to come and do a seminar there, get everybody that you know to sign up and say it, because wherever the biggest demand is where we will go next. And I think it'll be driven by interest, because we're going to have to probably figure out about, the translation of material, as well as local people who can run those sort of chapters for us. And so I think that legwork makes the most sense based on not necessarily where we want a vacation, but where there's the most interest.
Speak for yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Dale had his way. We would go to Bali, right? Next.
Okay. Will there be a daily workout returning?
So there's going to be all kinds of daily stuff. The daily fix, we're calling it.
Fix, yeah.
But I think we should save some of that. And that will be open to the public. That's free. The resource library will some of that stuff will be in a resource library just for members, but anybody can access it, every day and get their daily dose, and share it and comment, and, very similar to the old message board style of things, where you can really be interactive if you want to be. But also those will be resources that you can share with your members, which we hope will be, make life a little bit easier for you.
And this is a big one that I've been personally asked a bunch is, can you be both a CrossFit affiliate and a MetFix affiliate?
Definitely. I mean, I think CrossFit is Greg's legacy. It's his work. We're not trying to take anything away from the power of what he created there. I think it will probably come down to financial. I would imagine for some people, they may not want to be both. But I have no issue at all. I don't think you do either. I'm sure Greg doesn't, with people being both. And I think, what we're doing is different. It's not, there's a lot of overlap. I mean, certainly the mechanics of the movement stuff is pretty much identical. We're not changing that a lot. The nutrition piece will be different and far more in depth and high level. I mean, some of the exercise stuff will be higher level, because we're really backing it up with medical research that's sound, that talks about the impact of, high intensity functional movements, all of those things on the body long term, as well as in fighting chronic disease, as well as in being able to help with diet. So I don't think CrossFit's doing any of that. I mean, again, it's I think we're so based in the science, and I don't think they are so much anymore. And I don't want to be disparaging of CrossFit, but I think they're really different. And as we sort of preview our content more, I think it'll be very clear that we're different. And so I don't think that there's any reason. I think if anybody sees a benefit to still being a member or an affiliate of CrossFit, they should do it. And that's great. That's sort of that's the community, right, that we're mostly drawing from, because of the interest and the power of what people have learned the methodology can do. So there's nothing wrong with being both. In fact, I think it's great to start with a CrossFit box, and then you kind of graduate and you want a higher level of education and interaction and commitment. And that's sort of more of what we're offering.
Yeah, I mean, clearly my gym's still a CrossFit affiliate, and we currently still are, and have no plans in the immediate future to resign that affiliation. To me, the way I look at this is kind of a higher level of learning. We're not going to promise 30 leads in 30 days. We're not going to go over kind of basic blocking and tackling of how to be a coach and how to run a gym. You should already kind of come to that, or you should already be an excellent practitioner by the time you want to do this, and it takes time. It would be a lot. It'd be a lot for somebody to come right off the street and want to go into this. Is it impossible? No. But you should have some reps and some time under your belt. And being a CrossFit affiliate is a great way. And they have a lot of great beginners tools for that. So there's no antagonistic relationship between the two. We're taking those who've put their time in, learn the hard ways, and have some lessons to share to others. And like I said, for us, the main thing is you will not ever doubt where we stand, ever, in our mission and in our vision to impact as many positive lives that we can through health and fitness and connection. We're losing the war to an enemy that has more funds, more weapons, and more personnel. And we need to utilize these affiliates as an outpost in that war and basically create an insurgency through education and through connection and through fitness to serve as many people as we can.
I think we should just circle back to this. People are asking questions about how if there's no owners, is there a board? I don't think Dale meant that literally. I think he meant sort of like it's Greg and I own this. We are 100% committed to the mission. So there isn't an outside investor group that's going to decide in a year that we need to all sell water beds or whatever, right? Like this is it. This is what the mission is. No one's going to take it away from us. This is what we're focused on. So no, there's no board. There's no outside influence like that.
And question just came in. How will the MetFix brand be promoted to the broader public? Will there be a media team to communicate the good work being done?
Absolutely. I mean, I think like my background as a journalist and, obviously with lots of connections in the media, we're going to parlay that into letting a lot of people know what we're doing. And I think, the Make America Healthy campaign that Bobby Kennedy is doing right now, I'm very connected with all of that. Those are all going to be partners in this. I think, again, there is such massive, powerful, well-funded forces working against this that aligning ourselves with other groups who are doing this with the right intentions that aren't trying to sell you something will be really key. And I think we've already developed a lot of those alliances. So I'm confident those relationships are there for the right reasons and that will be impactful for all of us and anybody involved. I also think, there probably will be some controversy around what we're doing, right? Like a lot of, people think like we shouldn't be talking about nutrition because we're not registered dietitians. And like, we're up for that. We're ready to take that on. So I think as far as attention goes, anybody who's part of MetFix will be driving such impact. It'll be impossible for people not to talk about it. And we will do everything we can to amplify those stories.
Yep. Like my grandma always said, if you're going to be, if you're willing to do the Lord's work, then you got to be willing to piss off the devil at the same time.
Your grandmother and I are so long overdue for a cup of tea. I swear to God, Dale, if all else fails, you could write a book of saying things.
We need to get that published. But yeah, that's a part of it, just exactly what you're saying. And that's a big reason we're taking it slow and really kind of cultivating these first 100. So we can either go out and capture those stories and disseminate them, or, train and help the affiliate owner do some user-generated content to provide to the group. And then we're kind of a distribution hub for that. But media will play a big role in getting the word out.
I also think it's interesting, like it's sort of an interesting fact about CrossFit that a lot of people don't know, that CrossFit historically got tons of great, not so much anymore, but when Greg was running things, local press. And it was because the affiliates were driving huge change, right? And you have people losing hundreds of pounds. And those are always great stories. And so the local newspaper would go and cover, this is what's happening in a CrossFit box. And they were always super positive. It was like the big national stories that were often negative. And I think that, sort of a return to that emphasis of like, you're going to be a powerhouse in your community. You're going to drive change in ways that people aren't going to believe. And with our medical society, which, we have to talk about because it's a big part of all of this, right? Like all of these different parts of broken science are deeply connected. I think the connective tissue is not well understood. But
Yep.
the doctors are also doing this, and they're going to drive people in specifically into MetFix boxes because they know that's where the work is happening on a daily basis. And, I mean, I think it's like we're adding like 3 members to the medical society per day. Like it's like blowing up right now. And I think I actually had Karin send me something over about like all the things that are going on over there, which are also going to be available to anybody who is an affiliate, a MetFix affiliate. And so like we have all these webinars being done, in the next few months, and next year will be packed with this kind of stuff with, like Tom Seyfried, Zoe Harcum, Christy. They're all doing these great webinars where they're basically talking about their research, and Zoe's talking about nutrition, and Christy's talking about high intensity versus low intensity exercise. Like these are all continuing education pieces that connect the medical community and the MetFix community to really empower the whole to go forward and sort of, deliver the mission in a meaningful way. But we also have journal clubs. We have all of these events that we're doing. Like those are all open to anybody who's in either cohort. And over time, they're just going to grow, right? So right now we're doing this with a very small staff. And, everybody's really hardworking, and we have so many amazing people in the larger ecosystem who are really excited that we're doing it and wanting to do a webinar or wanting to do a talk or wanting to host us. And I think 2025 is going to be like a ton of travel and a ton of online resources being developed like this, which really allow anybody who's interested in this space to drop in, like hear a lecture from a world famous author or researcher, and take away from it things that you go the next day when you're training on the floor and you start talking about how like, oh, I was just at this lecture that Tom Seyfried was giving about cancer as a metabolic disease, and how, once again, we know that the cells are responding to glucose in a different way than the ketones are responding. And it turns out you don't need any glucose in your brain in order to operate. You need ketones, right? That's all just reinforcing all of this stuff and repositioning you as an expert within this chronic disease sphere, that then that client who doesn't believe you can go home and Google. The next thing you know, they're watching tons of videos on YouTube of, Tom working with dogs and the cancer disappearing and all of that kind of great stuff that we'll have for you to share with your members. But also the goal is to like spark an interest so that this becomes lifelong learning for everybody. And that's where it really fits in the hub of what we're doing with Broken Science as a whole. So, I mean, I've said this over and over again, but I feel like a lot of the broken science, probability theory, plausible reasoning, critical thinking work that we're doing is for the brain what MetFix is for the body. And you need both in order to lead a long, healthy, happy life.
Yeah. And like, that's not bullshit. Like I've had a very fortunate position over the last 4 years I think I've gone to every seminar that BSI has had. And have heard Thomas Seyfried speak. And so the last time we were just in Boston, a member unfortunately is going through cancer treatment. And so I'm over there like screenshotting the slides, texting that person. And it's just it's a conduit of unbiased, authentic information you can provide to your members, and at least allow them the decision to know, hey, there are other treatment modalities out there than the standard chemotherapy, radiation. And probably the most effective ones aren't the ones being talked about because they're not profitable. I mean, you know what I mean? like, and people don't like that. You'd say conspiracy and tinfoil hat all you want, but when you hear somebody like Thomas Seyfried speak, it resonates with you and you can begin to understand cancer as a metabolic disease. And that's not well known or articulated. And that's our job, because people come to our gym every day and look at us from a position of trust. And it's our obligation to go find this information and provide it more than just, hey, an open workout or thrusters and burpees. This is the value, the true value you provide to your members and your community.
Yeah, and it does the inverse also. It makes you, because you're providing this valuable service, which is honestly also like caring. Like you texting your member that information is like, hey, it's the weekend. I'm out of town and I'm hearing this thing and I'm thinking about you. And that builds loyalty. It builds trust. It builds everything. And I think, when you're talking about chronic disease, I said to Greg the other day, I feel like the deeper I get into the scientific misconduct stuff, which is really my area of, background and interest in some ways, the more I realize that so much of this scientific misconduct is happening pretty exclusively in the chronic disease realm, right? So we just had this new, batch of papers that are all fake and falsified that are in Alzheimer's. Again, we had this 2 years ago, right? We've had this abundantly in cancer research. And I was saying to Greg, I kind of think on some level, this is because people don't understand the dependent variable in chronic diseases, lifestyle choices. So if you have gone to medical school and you've had 1 day of nutrition, you have missed that. Nobody has talked to you about the decisions that what you eat, what you put in your body is going to impact your health over time more dramatically than probably anything else, right? So this kind of goes to Greg's like 5 buckets of death. It goes to a lot of things that he's been saying for years. But I was saying to him, I almost feel like it's like if somebody gives you a puzzle and they ask you to like put the puzzle pieces together and you're like, sure, I could do that. You start working on the puzzle and you realize like these pieces don't go together. Like, what do? You try to push harder. You're like, they kind of look like they should go together, right? So I'm just going to push harder. And I think in the research community, because people have been looking at this incorrectly, right? They've been looking at, plaque developing in the brain, and we don't know why. And 2/3 of women get Alzheimer's. So it must be related to women living longer or some hormonal response. And I do think there's obviously an insulin driving component in postmenopausal women. We will not go into a rabbit hole on Alzheimer's, but same with cancer. If you don't understand the mechanisms of action and the root cause, you're not going to be able to come up with a cure or a solution or a preventative model because you're not looking at it properly. And I think once people start recognizing more and more these lifestyle choices drive all of the chronic disease, you can prevent and you can treat. And so like even somebody who's going through cancer treatment, and because people know that I'm close with Tom, I get people weekly reaching out saying, my mom, my sister, my whoever was just diagnosed with cancer. Like, what should I do? And some people don't want to say like reject standard of care. That's incredibly intimidating and overwhelming to say like, I'm not going to do chemo and radiation. I'm just going to do hyperbaric oxygen and DOM and a ketogenic diet. But guess what? Even if you just do the ketogenic diet and you do chemo and radiation, you have a far better prognosis. So it's like, again, I don't want people to think that we're saying like, don't go to the doctor. Like our medical society is incredibly important because part of this mission is empowering doctors to reclaim clinical significance and not defer to academic peer-reviewed papers that have no clinical significance. What are you seeing in your practice? And I think MetFix is going to be like a clinical environment where people are driving results that they can see, right? So you get your A1C tested when you start. You get it tested 6 months later. Is it better, worse, same? If you're following the protocol, I'll bet you $1,000 it's better. There's no way it's not. So then that drives more and more buy-in from people because even then they go back to their doctor and the doctor's like, what are you doing? And they're like, I'm doing this high intensity functional exercising and I'm not eating any carbs and sugar. And the doctor's like, well, shit, your diabetes is gone. Huh. Maybe they should join our medical society, right? These are all symbiotic systems around health that have been so corrupted and people have been so misled. And, the hope is that we drive these little community cells of impact, end up overhauling the whole system.
Yep, 100%. It's an asymmetric cellular network of people doing good. And I know we're getting kind of towards the end, but I think an important question is, hey, I'm not a trainer or an affiliate owner. How do I get involved?
So, the medical society is a great entry point for people. You can be a patient, a researcher, a doctor, nurse, whatever. And that we're building out a lot of resources. That's what a lot of these events have really been focused on. And that's a great way to sort of introduce yourself to some of these problems, right? So it's really important for people to start kind of getting news and information from other sources. And so, Dale's seen me do my talk several times, but like my slides are insane. And I always say that it's because I know what I'm saying sounds incredible to people. And I want you to be able to go and fact check it on your own and look it up and start learning for yourself, like, oh, damn, like this isn't the way that I was told it was. But how can I reposition myself? And so I think the medical society, we have cohorts that are just for doctors and patients or researchers so that you can learn within your own group. But I think that's a great way to start. And then once there are MetFix affiliates, like if there's one in your area, go check it out, because they're going to be experts on this. They're going to be able to talk about all of this stuff and break it down and explain it. And so, in the same way that in a workout, you do your warm up and you explain the mechanics of the movement, there needs to be that sort of level of mechanics of nutrition and mechanisms of action in the whiteboard talks that happen every day.
100%. And just fill out the form. We can develop an email list in the future, let you know things that are coming down the pipeline, take advantage of any free resources that we post. And like 2025, I mean, I'm going on a limb here, but it's going to be chock full of events. And we're going to have like community workouts on everything that we do. If it's around your area, come by and say hello. Check us out. And that's just the best way to do it.
Also, I would say sign up. The newsletter is really great. Yeah. I mean, the newsletter is always growing, but I think like there's a lot of people who follow us on Instagram or like follow the CrossFit book that would love the stuff that's in there, because if we repost it, I get a lot of people commenting on like, where can I read this? And so it's like, if you sign up for the newsletter, you get an original piece of writing done by one of our experts who are, world leading experts on this stuff, breaking it down in ways that anybody can understand, as well as a piece of news content that we, are curating that we think is really important for people to have eyeballs on. So that's just like once a week. It's not a big lift, right? But it's a little check-in on what we think you need to know that week. And with MetFix will have its own sort of rollout of content like that too. But in the meantime, if you want to try to like get up to speed or you want to feel more involved in all of this stuff, the newsletter is a great place to start. And that's we offer tickets to the events through the newsletter first before we post them on social media. We, all of the members of the medical society get invited to that stuff. We should probably talk about Greg's seminar.
Yeah. Yes.
So Greg's doing a seminar in January that's sort of a practice run for his seminar. That's going to be 2 days looking at plausible reasoning. So it's sort of like I've been calling it critical thinking camp. He calls it epistemology camp. I think critical thinking camp is a little easier to roll off the tongue, but it's the same thing. And that is incredible. I've seen the outline for it. I'm really excited. Those tickets all are going to go to our society members first. So you want to go to Greg's thing and you're a member of the medical society, chances are you're going to get a chance to do that. If you're not, then unfortunately, if they're sold out, and I think I said 100 and he feels like maybe 100 is a lot, he'll do more of those. This first one is going to be really powerful because we're going to do it at his house, and it's going to be, him sort of still working out some of the stuff. So he's going to want a lot of feedback too, I think. But that's different than the MetFix seminar. So I think there was some confusion I saw online about people wondering if Greg was doing the MetFix seminar in January, and this is a different seminar. But again, like these are all related. So if you become a MetFix affiliate, my guess is you're going to want to take Greg's seminar at some point, because it's going to really help you understand about critical thinking. And when I say critical thinking, I mean like everything from like how you read the news to how you solve problems to how you coach. It is all encompassing. And I think people think it's like very high level, in a sort of intellectual sense. And I think it was a year or two ago, certainly he and I were really sort of in this philosophical space, but he is a master at taking this kind of information and making it accessible through like funny analogies and like, his drawings. A lot of the math stuff was very challenging for me until he would draw it for me. And then I would see it and then you can't forget it. And so his seminar is going to be one of the most powerful things I think offered honestly anywhere on how to think.
Yeah. To me, that's it. It's how to think. And there's never a bad opportunity to want to challenge your intellectual capacity. We're masters and great at teaching work capacity, but a lot of people don't understand that still applies to your brain and your intellectual power. And the more you can use that, and I think maybe this is Susan's line, but like it's a decoder ring to see through the bullshit. And it'll be a powerful course. And like it's how to think. We're offering how to think, how to eat, how to move, how to connect, and how to surf. And if you can do all of those things equally, like you're talking about a very powerful individual who can perform a lot of work for good over their lifetime. And to me, that's kind of the definition of health.
And cess up the bullshit. I mean, like, we're fed so much that is not true. And once you learn how to sort of deconstruct arguments and policies and all of that, which Greg's course does really well, you can sort of quickly see through something and say, like, that's not actually what it is. And because it's all based in probability theory, which I don't want to like go on too much of a tangent, but like a lot of people don't even realize that like CrossFit was based on Newtonian physics, right? So like force, distance, time, and probability theory fits perfectly into that. Like, what is the predictable outcome of eating highly processed carbohydrates versus eating meat? Well, we can tell you there are predictable outcomes for both of those things. So again, it's sort of like this connection between the BSI curriculums and the BSI methodology of how to think is really directly involved in all of the MetFix curriculum, how to move, how to eat properly. They're not separate at all. And so I think it's important for people to know, like, you get involved in this community because you like working out and you want to help more people get healthy. And next thing you know, you're going to be hanging out with like physicists and people who are changing the world in their domain by knowing how to think really critically. And you won't be able to help yourself, but feel like your whole horizon has expanded in terms of things you're interested in.
Yep. Is there any additional things you'd like to hit or?
One, I did see something where, okay, so there was not a lot, but there were some sort of like false reporting or misunderstanding about the medical society. The medical society is $2,500 as a recommended fee. You can pay monthly and you can pay whatever you want. You do not have to pay $2,500. That's what we think the value is, but we're asking people to pay what they think the value is or what they can afford. So no one should feel like it's cost prohibitive. We want as much of the information to get to as many people as possible. We do have costs we need to cover. So we're asking people to pay what they can afford to pay and what they feel like the value is. But I think it's really important to clear up. It's not a $2,500 fee. It's a fee based on that's the suggested price. But if you can't pay that much and you want to pay some smaller amount, every month, see what you get, see if you like it, that's perfectly fine. And people are doing that.
Yep. And as far as initial MetFix seminars, yeah. So the first 2, 3, however many will be open only to the people that are on the founding affiliates. And that's more to like process improve. And then after those are available, they'll be opened up and it'll just be first come, first serve, kind of based upon where they are in the country at that time. Anything else?
Somebody asked if Greg is speaking at the BSI event next week, not in Hilton Head, but he is in Atlanta. And I think there's still some tickets available for that, although I'm not 100% sure. I know that was selling fast.
And no, I'm not giving you my Venmo to get on the affiliate list.
People bribing you.
I appreciate your enthusiasm, but no, it's not going to work that way. Yeah, I would, in closing, to me, I just say that, broken science has led to a broken society, and MetFix is going to be the solution to repairing it.
Great. Anybody, do you want to, I feel like we hit all the big things. I don't know. There's so many things that came.
Yeah, it's kind of scrolling through.
So non-affiliate owners this isn't just for CrossFit. It's completely unrelated to CrossFit. So if you're somebody who was an affiliate, who's not anymore, or was never an affiliate, you can certainly just go to brokenscience.org and fill out the form, and you'll be added to our list.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Like, there's been a lot of folks who de-affiliated for whatever reason. Hit us up. Like, this isn't, like you said, this isn't just for CrossFit affiliates. This is for anybody out there wanting to make a difference in their community.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there are a lot of affiliates who, have left the system who seem to want to come back because they miss the mission-driven, purpose-driven sort of ethos, which obviously is our main drive. So like those people are absolutely welcome. I mean, again, it's like the goal is to get this knowledge and information to as many people as we can so we can save as many lives as we can. And any way that we can do that in a safe way, we will do.
Yep. Anything else here?
We have new merch coming out, right, Jess?
Oh yeah.
The MetFix merch is awesome. Like, very excited about that. And I think a lot of the branding stuff that's coming out shortly, probably next week, is going to be exciting for people. And yeah, I mean, I think people are like, wait, is this just nutrition? No, it's definitely not. It's just that, like, if you think about the L1 as like 80% mechanics, this is going to be like 50-50. So like, we're assuming that you've already been a coach, that you know some movement. We're going to go through sort of higher level movement, why it's justified, why we do what we do, and then really do a deep dive into sort of cell biology and the the way that we process energy.
Cool.
All right. Thanks for doing this with me, Dale.
Oh, my pleasure. And thanks everybody for taking the time out of their day. And kind of most importantly, fucking thank you, gym owners and affiliate owners. You don't get told that enough. We see the work you're doing. We value it. We appreciate you. And I'm fucking excited to get in a fight with you guys.
Yeah. And actually, that dovetails on like sort of why are we doing this? Which is that like the outpouring of people over the last few years, like begging, like truly begging Greg to get back in, is why we are, because we really didn't want this to fall apart. And so I think, again, it's sort of like, why are we feeling so strongly about the mission? It's because the demand for this is like off the charts, both from people who want to be able to deliver high value to their clients and their communities, as well as us recognizing the larger need and opportunity to help more people in the country and in the world battle these big powers that are making us all sick.
Preach. All right.
Thanks, Dale. Thanks, everybody.